Hello everyone, SCETV meteorologist Andrew Wulfeck here. We are continuing monitoring this winter storm, and it looks like it'll be a doozy for the state, so let's get right into the graphics and show you what is going on. There you go, there is the radar picture. You see the light snow flurries starting in the mountains in South Carolina and North Carolina and Tennessee, particularly heavy northeast of Knoxville right now. This is one of the first signs that there is trouble on the way. You also see moisture streaming in from the south, and that will aid, and we are all going to be in store for some heavy snowfall this weekend. It's going to be it's going to be a dry snowfall, by the way. I was going to say it's going to be a wet snowfall. It's going to be a dry snowfall, which means it won't be any good for making, snowmen or any type of creatures like that. It will, however, be easier to shovel, so it'll be easier on your back, and there's going to be a lot of snow. Let's go over to see how much snowfall we could be talking about, and there you go. Now, it looks impressive across Florence, Sumter, and Rock Hill, but I do have to caution you that when we are dealing with these situations, it's going to be one neighborhood, it could get a little, the next could get a lot. So if you see yourself underneath a pink or purple, then it's not guaranteed that you will see a heavy snowfall, but boy, you should prepare for one. So what we have going on here, across the south, across the low country, we're only talking about 1 to 2 inches of snowfall across Beaufort and maybe up towards Charleston. I think the main snowfall zone, if you will, is north of Interstate 26. That's where the heaviest snowfall will occur, and it will begin overnight tonight. So 8 to 12 Sumter, 8 to 12 Florence. I think most of these neighborhoods will be in the 8 to 10 inch range, if you will, and then isolated areas will get into that 10 plus inch range. I was looking up some historic snowfall totals, and it doesn't look like Greenville, Columbia, Charleston, or Myrtle Beach will beat their historic totals based on this forecast model, but it is certainly possible, because if you get one of these bands that lines up over a community, it could surely outdo that model that you're seeing there on your screen. So that's something we'll be watching out for. I want to take you to Futurecast and give you a better sense of when you can expect this precipitation. We're starting it off at midnight tonight, and then you see it approaching from the west. There's some towards the north, towards Florence. Very complicated picture starting us off, but as we progress the timestamp, you start to see it fill in. I'll pause it Saturday morning, and now from, let's say, I-20 north and westward, that's where your heaviest precipitation will be. It will be heavily snowing in Greenville, Rock Hill, Aiken, and as we progress it even further in time, it's Saturday afternoon. Look at that, 3:30 p.m. That's when the entire state will be seeing snow fall from the sky. Unlike our last storm, by the way, remember our last storm, we had a hard time getting any frozen precipitation east of I-95. In this case, it stretches from the mountains all the way to the ocean, so we aren't dealing with one of these storm systems with all this mixed precipitation. It will be snowfall for everyone, and we'll continue to progress the timestamp to 4:30 and beyond. And I want you to notice this as we head towards Sunday midnight, Sunday 1 a.m., Sunday 2 a.m., we start to clear out across from the west to the east. Notice by Sunday 2:30, Greenville, Rock Hill, Columbia, all clear according to this Futurecast model. Maybe a few scattered snow flurries towards Charleston, Beaufort, Florence, Myrtle Beach, but notice how quickly it exits off the coast. So by Sunday afternoon, we are sitting perfect. So if you want to get out shoveling on Sunday, it's going to be a good day to do so without precipitation falling. But I do have to warn you, because temperatures, because of all the snowfall that's going to be on the ground and this Arctic blast of air coming out of the north and west, look at this. Single digits in Rock Hill, maybe, Columbia 13, even a hard freeze along the coast. It's very rare to get a hard freeze along the coast. And a lot of these are record lows, by the way. I think Greenville is going to be close to a record. Their record is 9 degrees. Columbia, the record is 16 degrees. Charleston, the record is 21 degrees. In Myrtle Beach, the record is 20 degrees. So notice some of those records I just read off to you. They are going to be smashed come Sunday morning. And this is only half the story, because if we take a look at what the wind is going to do, wow, look at that. 0 degrees is a baseline for everyone from Aiken to Columbia to Rock Hill, because we're talking about winds 20 to 30 miles an hour. So this is downright dangerous. So I constantly remind people of the 7 Ps, to protect the people, the pets, the pipes, the plants, the pools, the practice fire safety, and make sure your car has its preventative maintenance, because you are not going to want to deal with this, especially if you don't have heat. Make sure check on your neighbors, the elderly, get them to a warming center. There are many set up across the state, as you would expect with weather like this. Here's what the storm system looks right now, and here's what it will look like. We have this moisture coming in from the Gulf. We have the cold air from the north, and wow. And it's all colliding over the mid-Atlantic. By the way, the storm system will move off the coast and become what's known as a bomb cyclone. That simply means that its millibar is going to drop, and it could have a pressure similar to a hurricane. And that's why it's so powerful. That's why we're going to see the gusty winds. That's why we see the invasion of the cold air. And even across the Northeast, I'll bring up this graphic here, can't roll out some snow from Charlotte, of course, all the way up to New England. Now, this will mostly be an I-95 event, but as you know, snowfall along I-95 causes big problems across the country. When you're talking about airports and delays and cancellations, it's something that we don't need, considering we just went through this, like a week ago? Yeah, so certainly incredible. And Punxsutawney Phil Day, Groundhog Day, is coming up on February 2nd, so it remains to be seen whether he will see his shadow or not. My guess is that he will forecast 6 more weeks of winter. I was looking up some stats about how accurate he is, and it's not that good. He's only accurate 35 to 40% of the time. So it's going to be something not only for this weekend to watch, but then again as we head into next week with Groundhog Day and what have you. And we're technically past our coldest time of the year. Our coldest week is in mid to late January, so we actually should be on the increase in terms of our overnight low and overnight high, or daytime high, but it's going to be anything like that with the records set to be broken during the next couple of days. But I do have good news. Come midweek time period, we will start to moderate. However, any snowfall that's on the ground could melt during the daytime hours and then refreeze at night, because we're still talking about temperatures that are well below freezing. So that will create black ice. That'll probably be a problem throughout the week. So that's something you want to keep in mind if you have an early commute, that there could be a few icy spots, especially on those untreated roadways, and especially where you're seeing the heaviest snowfall and precipitation. Rob, do you have any questions coming in?
Currently, no. I think everyone's just kind of paying attention to what is developing, because it looks like this storm is going to pretty much dominate the day Saturday, which compared to last week's storm is a pretty fast-moving storm.
Yes, and a little bit different in terms of its complexion, because this actually has 2 areas of low pressure associated with it. It'll have one area that'll come out of the mountains and northwest, and we'll have a second area of low pressure that'll move across the Sunshine State, and they'll eventually merge, as I was talking about, and form this huge storm that's off the coast of the mid-Atlantic, the bomb cyclone, and we'll see the pressure rapidly drop to hurricane status. Now, fortunately, most of the United States is going to be free, if you will, of effects, because the harshest effects will be offshore. But if you were talking about, this actually being closer to inland, then we would be having a mess across the I-95 corridor. They're still going to get snow, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be of historic nature, if you will.
I want to remind everyone, too, that, while we are going to be checking in with you on these live events on the SCETV News YouTube page, as well as on the SCETV Facebook page throughout the day tomorrow, we will have continuous, you can follow it along continuously on the SCETV YouTube page. We have another live stream up, which is just the weather uh, essentially in a loop. The wind chill and these other factors that you would want to know that will be up all weekend for you to check anytime and to see the progression of the storm.
And as you were saying, it's going to be a fast mover across the state, which is fortunate. And it's also fortunate that we're dealing with a light powdery snow instead of that wet, heavy snow. Usually across the south, we get that wet, heavy snow because of the complexity of the atmosphere. And we do have a question coming in.
Yeah, Jason wants to know, and this is from Facebook, how much is the town of Kershaw going to get?
Kershaw.
So we will find Kershaw.
We will find that out for you, Jason. Kershaw, South Carolina.
My question is, I wonder if there are some folks who are looking forward to some snow.
Interesting. Well, that is between Columbia and Charlotte. So let me start off with Futurecast so you can get a sense of when the snowfall will happen. So here we are starting at midnight tonight. Oh, let's go back to it. There we go. We will start it at midnight tonight. And we'll pause it there. So Kershaw will get in on the heavy precipitation by 10 a.m. And it just continues through 4:30, 5, 9. Now it starts to tail off. So you're looking at a decent 12 plus hours of snowfall. And the question was, how much will they receive? And we will bring up snowfall totals. And Kershaw right about in this region. So we are dealing in the 8-ish accumulation, maybe a little bit more as you head north of town, less as you head south of town. But certainly it's going to be one of the possibilities where the heavier snow is going to fall.
And as you say, I mean, the further north you go, it appears you get a little more snow. But as you say, this could be a neighborhood, street by street result.
Absolutely. It's an unusual storm system in that the snow is going to come down in bands. So that one neighborhood might get a foot, the next one might get 3-4 inches. So it's really going to matter if you happen to find yourself underneath one of those bands. And unfortunately, we can't forecast, and no one can forecast where these bands are going to set up. It's like a hurricane. We can't tell you before a hurricane where exactly the worst the weather is. We give you that forecast cone. We warn you for a wide area, and then we narrow it down as time goes on. But this is going to be nowcasting, and it's going to be sticking with us and sticking with our Facebook and YouTube lives to find out, what's coming next in the pipeline.
We have a question from Chris is asking about Greenwood, which is between Greenville and Columbia. And so
along I-26. So a good rule of thumb for this storm is going to be that I-26 corridor. If you're north of I-26, that's where the heavier bands are going to be. That's where the heavier accumulations are going to set up. And people ask all the time why we refer to highways. Why do we use corridors in terms of setting us up, saying, oh, it's going to be heavier on this side versus this side? It's because they're good boundaries. If you look across the state, we have I-95 that runs from north to south. We have I-20, which runs from east to west. And up north, we have I-85 around the Greenville area. So with this particular storm, it's I-26 and northward where the heavier snowfall will occur. And as I believe it was Chris who was asking.
That's right.
It's 4 to 8 inches is what the forecast model is showing for there. But again, you go south of I-26, it might be 1 to 3. You head towards Charlotte, and it will be closer to a foot. I will advise you, if you don't plan on traveling to the Tar Heel State, because they are going to be of historic nature. Our amounts will be impressive across South Carolina, but as you get towards Charlotte, east of Winston-Salem.
We also have a question
Raleigh.
about Orangeburg, which is just a bit south of Columbia.
Orangeburg is going to be on the verge of light to moderate, if you will. So they'll be on the 2 to 4 or 4 to 8, if you will. We're still narrowing it down. It'll still be enough to cover the grass. By the way, you only need half an inch of snow to cover the grass. So everyone across South Carolina will see their grass covered by the snow. But it is those, again, I-26 and northward, where it's going to take a day at least to dig out from the storm.
Any sense of how long the snow will hang around after it's fallen?
That's always difficult to tell. I do have good news, is that it's sunny once the storm system passes through, which will help. But I showed you temperatures, remember, and they wind chill values around 0, which are downright dangerous. And so it's going to be a while. Now here's Futurecast again, and I'm just going to play it because you'll notice how quickly the snow moves out. Saturday at 4 o'clock, I stopped it here as all of South Carolina will be getting snow. Most of the snow moves off by sunrise on Sunday. And notice that there is not a drop in the sky come Sunday at noon. So it will be quick, but the question was, how long will it last through the week on the ground? High temperatures on Monday across most of the state, only in the 20s. So you really have to wait until Wednesday and Thursday. That's when we start to get some more moderation. But then again, any snow that melts, it will create problems with ice during the morning commutes. So I wouldn't be surprised if you hear about delays or cancellations during the morning hours. Churches, schools, etc., just giving some time for that ice to settle, to melt away every morning until we can kick all of this out.
Okay, another question. This is from YouTube. ETA for 85 and 26 Inman.
Oh, ETA when the snow's arriving. So let's take a look at the radar picture, and that'll give us the best sense of what's going on. Now, you will notice it's looking like it's approaching. I do have to caution you. It looks more impressive on radar than it is right now, and that's always the case. Ahead of a storm system, there's always a lot of dry air. So a lot of what you're seeing west of Greenville, around Asheville, is probably not even reaching the ground. We really have to wait until we see these dark colors on the radar, these darker blues start to develop, and then we can say it's officially snowing. So the question is, when will snowfall happen? I think we have to wait until you see this line between Nashville and Knoxville. That's a darker color. Once that arrives into the metro Greenville area, that's when the snow will start. So likely an hour or two before midnight is when I would guess at this point. And then you'll also be the first, by the way, to clear out on Saturday. So also keep that in mind.
Another question from YouTube about how much snow will Union, South Carolina get? That's just a little south of Spartanburg. It's a little further north, so probably a bit.
Yeah, so we'll go back to our accumulation map, and yeah, so we are solidly in the 4 to 8 inch realm, I would say, which is, by the way, the 8 inch is the worst case scenario. The 4 is like the likely scenario. The best case scenario is that these numbers are wrong completely. Which is good, right? You want the forecast model to be wrong because you'll be doing with less snow. I don't know, unless some people want snow, right?
I think some people probably do.
Right.
A nice little fun snow is one thing, but
how often do you get a winter wonderland? Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. How often do you get a winter wonderland? Now, it would have been better, over the holidays if it were to happen, and maybe some people are storm fatigued because remember we just went through this last weekend where we told everyone to settle in their house and huddle.
Right.
And now we're doing it again, hunkering down. So, yeah, 4 to 8 is my best guess at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's it for our questions for now.
Well, very good. Well, hey, listen, everyone. Well, we will continue to monitor the weather situation from here in the Forecast Center, and a reminder that we are constantly streaming the latest forecast models, radar picture, animation on YouTube, and it's the SEC TV News on YouTube. And make sure to join us all day tomorrow for our live continuous coverage on our social media pages.